I'll go ahead real briefly. My name is Kevin Winston, founder of Digital LA. Organize networking events all around startups and entertainment. And we're at Digital LA on Twitter. And something fun that happened. We had a really good time at our CES parties, which were a lot of fun. So,
Thanks, Kevin. I'm Victor Solis, filmmaker. Been working in film since the 90s. Everything from features, commercials, music videos, and web series. So you can find me on Twitter, Victor R. Solis. I'm going to be talking predominantly about producing. So if you want to know the how and the dollars and the schedules and the spreadsheets and the dull stuff that you need in order to succeed, I'll be talking about that. Fun stories. Ooh. Fun story. I learned that painting a desk, if you ever want to refinish furniture, is best left to the professional and not me at Home Depot at 9 o'clock at night. So, but it's fun. It's rewarding. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mitchell Dumlau, videographer and entrepreneur. I have a company where I help with other companies and individuals market their goods and services through video and online content. You can find me at Mitchell Dumlau. And interesting story is yesterday for one of my brands, I own an e-commerce platform for 3D printers and drones. Closed a client yesterday and ended up with like a 4-foot tall 3D printer now. And I'm going to be filming some 3D printer content on Friday. So yeah, you should look out for that. It's going to be cool.
I'm on a 3D printer. Hi, I'm Michael Cass. I am a storyteller. I tell stories, and that somehow morphed into people paying me to help them tell their stories. So I'm the founder of a consultancy called Story Impact, where I basically help people discover and harness the power of their story to create change. And I'm also the story coach at Nation Builder, which is a tech startup that doesn't lead with tech. It leads with people and stories, which is cool. So fun thing, I last week went to Orlando to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and I bought a magic wand, and it was the awesomest thing ever. I never use it, but it's at Michael_Cass.
I'm Justin. My company is Jam Studios, specialize in bringing ideas to life, just from straight up idea and concept all the way through to market. I'm all about thinking outside the box and helping you guys kind of bring what's in your head out and getting it to the market. Other than that, I've been locked up in my office for the last 2 weeks, almost nonstop. I love living in 2015 and having so much access to amazing educational material. For like $30 a month, I just started learning about everything from Stan Winston's Academy, including like how to build animatronics and all kinds of cool stuff. So that's my crazy story.
My name is Brian Rada. I am the principal at Brian Rada Consulting. I help people build their online brands, creating social media communities around online video specifically. I've been in online video for about 8 years, and I'm also a host and producer. I hosted 2 shows last year with a studio called TheStream.tv, one about fashion and the other one where I interviewed YouTube stars. But the one that might be of most interest to you is called Digital Natives, Content Creation's Frontline. And yeah, a few things about me. Besides just breaking my selfie stick up here, I think I just broke my selfie stick. That's probably the most interesting thing about me. I think it broke in half. I'm really conflicted about the selfie stick, but we'll get into that later. And just so you know, this was a gift from somebody for Christmas. I didn't go buy it myself, but I actually think it's really a beautiful tool when it's not broken. Let's see a few things. I just got a brand new car, which I'm very excited about. I had a car for 18 years, and I just got a brand new one, so it's kind of an exciting time. Yeah, I have reliability. Oh, sorry. And one final thing. One of the most exciting things about the Golden Globes that came out of it for me, I think, was there was a Twitter handle that was sparked about Lupita Nyong'o's glasses. Did anybody see that Twitter handle come up? That was pretty funny. So I thought that was a funny, yeah, it's like somebody created a Twitter handle for her glasses. So.
That's awesome. I'll have to check that out. Awesome. All right, so we're going to get right into the discussion. We also want to mention that we are at General Assembly, And as Michael mentioned earlier, he has worked out of here. I run a lot of my Digital LA events here too. And we actually have Natalie with General Assembly here too. If you have any questions about signing up for the classes, there are 3 classrooms there, and then there's this workspace here where also classes can take place or events such as this. So anything else you want to say, Natalie? All right, cool. If you have questions about General Assembly and signing up for classes, talk to Natalie. Cool. Also, the hashtag for the event is CreatorUpLive, hashtag CreatorUpLive. I just tweeted from @DigitalA, I think with the first one, so if you want to go ahead and use that as you're tweeting what these guys are saying, that would be great. So that's our speakers and where we're at. Let's see who you guys are. Who here is a content creator? Raise your hand, which means filmmaker, writer, director, producer, actor. You're creating content. All right. Who here is a social media expert guru? Raise your hand. All right. PR and marketing? Raise your hand. Also related to social media. Cool. Who here is a startup person? All right, cool. A lot of startups want to figure out how to develop their brand. Okay, we'll definitely focus on startup stuff. Who here works for a traditional company but still just wants to get maybe their personal brand together? Or regardless, who just wants to focus on their personal brand? Raise your hand. All right, who here wants to focus on their company brand? All right, who here wants to focus on their project brand, which is like a web series or another one? Okay, cool. So all right, so make definitely sure we focus on all that. Cool. Let's go ahead and just get started. We're talking about brands. Maybe we should start by defining what do we mean by building your brand. What does that mean? What is your brand for your company or yourself? Just to make sure we're on the same page. Who wants to take that? What is your brand? What is brand?
I'll go first. I think your brand is what people can count on you for. What can you reliably and consistently deliver? And it's not necessarily who you think of yourself as, like who you are for yourself, but who the world sees you as. And if we distinguish brand from brand essence, your brand essence is like 2 or 3 ways of being that are commonly associated with you in conversation.
Okay. You guys want to add to that?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's the identity that you represent either yourself. It's the identity you represent either yourself with or your product or whatever it is that you're putting out there. The really interesting thing is if you think about brand as a legacy that you leave behind, whether it's a new product or a company or the brand that you identify yourself under, it really is a legacy that gets left and marks and leaves a presence, you know, for basically forever.
So I generally actually stay away from the word brand because it's loaded for me, right? It's loaded with branding and branding experts, and we have to do this thing so that people will see us a certain way. And so when I work with people, the first thing I just say is like, tell me your story. That's it. That's it. Why are you doing this? You're creating a movie. Why? Everyone else is doing it. Why are you drawn to this? And then from that thing, that kernel of truth and authenticity, then you can build what eventually may become your brand. But I think what I've seen, and I'd love to hear from everyone else, is like when you start to approach things like, I gotta create my brand, you go immediately into your head. And anybody can do that. Anybody can go up here. What only you can do, especially if you're like building your own brand or your personal business, only you can tell your story. Nobody else can. And that's what's gonna set it apart.
I hear the word why from Brian and from Michael is ultimately why are you doing that? Typically as the filmmaker, I'm not talking so much with clients or with companies about product or services, but since I've been speaking to a couple of clients recently about that, in terms of the business, and it seems like there's a lot of hands that were raised about representing an existing brand, or for those that are in the startup phase or those that are looking to refine why it is that you do what you do. Something I learned recently was, what's that nightmare problem for your key client? Like, who's your dream client? Or like Michael, you're talking with somebody and it's like, I want to make this thing. I want to make the widget, or I want to make this beautiful service. What's their nightmare problem? And what's your amazing solution to their nightmare problem. And if you can handle those two, I mean, you're miles ahead. So I would frame that in terms of if you're talking about maybe a documentary film, or if you're talking about a company, a product or a service. Narrative, it's a little bit different.
For me, for a brand, it's all honestly about the people who, and your customer and the person that's actually watching your brand. Because I have a lot of brands, and I built a hip hop brand, a breakdancing brand in 2008. It's about your community. It's about people that you reach. It's about what they think that you are. It's how you connect with your people. Because at the end of the day, your brand is about your people. Because if you don't come off authentic, people know that you're fake. Like, I also have a street art brand. I have a tech brand right now. On my tech brand, like, I have to learn about 3D printers and drones. I can't just come in here from the outside and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be selling 3D printers and drones. I know I'm a brand when I really connect with my people and know what they want and know what I want and try to meet in the middle so that we can create something that everybody can basically benefit from.
It's really easy to talk about, oh, just talk about why you're doing this thing. But it's actually really hard. And the reason it's hard is that when we have an idea, most of us want to put the idea first. Oh, it's not about me, it's about the album. Oh, it's not about me, it's about the film. It's about you. It's about you, which means that it takes a lot of courage to stand up and say, I believe that this thing, this piece of art, this company is going to change the world, and this is why. Right? And that's where the story comes from. That, like you were saying, that why, that thing that's driving you to do the thing that everybody says you can't. Right? It's not the thing. People aren't going to be drawn to it because of the thing unless you have an amazing product. But chances are, if you've thought of it, somebody else has too. It's going to be your connection to it. And so start with that. Like, go to the moment when you had the idea. And get super specific. What were you wearing? Who was with you? What was the quality of the air? What did you have for breakfast? And in those details, you're going to find a story that starts to unfold.
All right, let's take it to the audience now. All right, so we have a bunch of different types of folks here. Who here said they have a startup? I'm going to ask you what your story is.
My name is Marissa O'Neill. Hi. My startup is called Wellness and Beyond, From Pain to Purpose. And the story behind it, without getting too involved because it goes pretty deep, is I've spent the first 30 years of my life releasing all the pain in my life, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And by the time I hit 30, I figured out what inner peace and fulfillment feels like. And now I help my clients release their pain physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually so they can identify with their purpose in life, and they can actually experience inner peace and fulfillment. So how do you take your story, that story, and create a logo that represents who you are?
There's two ways to go about that. So first way is make a list of metaphors that represent you. So the idea is go through magazines, chop out stuff that comes to mind, build a folder of images. Or is it a Rolls Royce or is it a Ferrari? There's a big difference between the two. Build a list of metaphors, both visually and just text. That'll help. And then you can either hand that off as a needs analysis, what you want, to a designer, or the other thing you can do is start sketching and see what comes out. What are the symbols that you keep on drawing over and over again? What happens when you put pen to paper or when you mess around in Photoshop? Sometimes it just comes to life naturally when you just start doing it. So I would just try going natural.
Is there a filmmaker or a content creator who wants to talk about their story and why they got the idea to make their film or web series?
My name is Daniel. I have it's basically around sports and a newsletter I'm starting and all that. But my question to you is, what's better than making money as a story? Because really, I sat down and I was like, I want to make money. How do I, da-da-da. So it's like, if that's my story, that's not going to sell to people. And I feel like a lot of us have, I want to make money as the story. So what would you do instead of having this big idea? You just want to make money.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, don't go ahead.
The people of LA are
I'm
very
already all
poor.
over this,
That's kind of
so-
where I'm going.
Daniel, right? So it actually does matter. Like, you shouldn't be flippant about it, right? Because your name is your brand. So I'm not trying to scold you, but yeah, anyway. all my nieces and nephews started calling me B-Rod when I was home for Christmas, and I was like, that's a different branding for your uncle, but I call myself that sometimes, and like now they start to catch on. You know, my name is Brian, but they call me B-Rod. My last name is Rada, B-Rod. Anyway, so Daniel, you don't really necessarily only want to make money, right? You actually, we all want to make money. We all need to make money, but your business is only going to be successful if it comes from like, if you're really truly passionate about it, and you can spend 10 to 12-hour days when time goes away, and that's a thing that you really want for the world. I don't really believe you only just want to make money, because if that's the only reason you're in it, I don't think you'll be successful. I think you have to dig deeper. Maybe you're into like here's an example. My father owns a pottery store, 2 retail pottery stores, but he could sell anything, in my opinion, knowing who my father is. What he gets off on is the art of the deal, and he likes he likes business. He likes deal making. He travels around the world buying pottery and importing it into the country. So he could sell. It doesn't matter what the thing is or that it's retail, but he likes art and he likes bringing beauty into the country. So that's why he does what he does. So, and does he make money? Yes. But it's not that he could sell anything. It's not that he's obsessed with terracotta, So I think for you, it's like, what do you really want for the world? You say you want sports, and maybe that's a thing in the marketplace that's missing that you can capitalize upon. But I think you need to, if you're going to be successful, you have to dig deeper about what you really want for the world that's missing in the world right now.
I mean, you want to?
No, go for it.
Yeah, I mean, just really quick to add on to that. I mean, I think there's really easy ways to make money. You can open a payday loan place and clean up, right? If that's what you want, that's great. Doing a startup is a lot of work. It's a lot of work, right? Doing content is a lot of work, and it doesn't pay off immediately. And so there's got to be something else going on, even if you're not aware of it yet, to make you take this path and start being instead of being like a televangelist or something.
Right, so I'd recommend that you connect. I think the other panelists would agree. Connect with something you're passionate about. If it's sports, great. If it's something else, great. There's got to be something that you personally are passionate about, and connect to that. That will make whatever it is, whether it's a startup or a film or a web series, connect to it so you can stick with it during the tough times, and then the money will come after that. So, let's.
Can I add one quick thing? So something I've really been interested in is how to make money online. And the answer is play in the sandbox where people are transferring money. Find a different sandbox. Find where people are spending and trading, and whether it's going to a higher level in a professional circle, saying, I'm going to deal with people on the level of ESPN, or I'm going to deal with people on this level. What happens is you start reaching out, you start making contact, and that all of a sudden becomes the sandbox you're playing in. So just raise the level of your game and find where people are trading money and be part of that sandbox.
Yeah, and I'll actually add on that, because right now I started a brand in 3D printing and drones because I want to make money too, and I believe in tech and like mobile apps. So I'm going to apply my talent, which is video marketing and also social media marketing. I partnered up with a designer and also with an engineer, created a tech brand so I can use my marketing services for my own brand and have an e-commerce platform behind it. So what I make, videos is promoting my brand, and I sell products. And if you want to do something for sports, when I go out for brands and just hustle yourself and saying, hey, look, I'm going to be doing, video content for sports, new shoe brand. I want to do a video for you. I'll do it for free first time. I get a reel, pitch it to other people, and just keep hustling that way. At the end of the day, use your passion and make money from it. If you just want to forget about max out your credit card, make a short film, and go the film festival route, which I've been through before, you're not going to make money from that. If you want to make money, you just got to hustle, use your talent, pitch it to brands, do some free work, use that reel to get money.
Is there another startup person or a content creator that wants to talk about we're still on story, the story of how you got to develop your brand? You want to go? All right.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justin. Hi, Justin. Hi. Thank you. So here's a story. I'm Justin. Here you go. Can you hear me? Okay. So when I was a young bear cub at UCLA, there was a time where I tried to figure out how to connect with my entrepreneurship community. And there was a problem at UCLA. There is no entrepreneurship community for undergrads. I had to sit at Anderson Business School and kind of look at the syllabus that a lot of these grad students had, and I had to look at their books and study all this stuff so that I could start a startup. And what was really problematic was that I couldn't get the resources that I wanted from UCLA. And it was interesting because I ran around school. It felt like I was looking for an Alcoholics Anonymous for entrepreneurs. It's like, hi, I'm Justin Brezhnev. I want to innovate. I want to change the world. I want to look for what's going to be the means that makes me the most happy, not the money. And so now we created a co-working community that is specifically designed to bring these entrepreneurs out of the depths of their dorm rooms so that they can sit with entrepreneurs like yourselves and interact and build companies and try to change the world. It's called Control LA Collective. You can find it if you go www.ctrl.la. Thank you, babe.
All right, thank you. All right, cool. So great story. You saw that there was a need. You talked about how it was you personally, you felt there was a need in the market, and then you went and created it because to fulfill the need and make it exist. So thank you to you both for sharing your story. It's always very awesome to have folks do that. And I just want to say it's just good marketing too. Like everyone now in this room knows your brand and your story, which is great. So folks who didn't do that, if you have a startup, there'll be other opportunities to get up there and talk about what you do. Because again, if you can't promote it to a bunch of folks in a room, that's a problem. So we'll go ahead and continue. Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
You just said about.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna like play. Do you want to play with me for like 2 minutes here? Okay, great. So first off, like there's like tons of co-working spaces. We're actually kind of in a co-working space right now, all around town. You have the Hub LA downtown. You have Co-Loft.
Okay, what's your point? Get to it.
Okay, thanks. I'm making my point.
Yeah.
So you have all these different places around town. What distinguishes what you're trying to create different? So have you done? My first question to you is: have you done your research in the marketplace, and how are you? What void are you trying to fill?
Okay, so how are you different from the other co-working spaces?
Versus whatever like the 10 or 20 other
Sure.
places around town that are already there.
From surveying the co-working spaces and walking around, there was actually an interesting experience that we had. It's one of my co-founders. We walked in and we were like, hi, we're looking for space. We're a startup. And they go, you actually look like you're too young to have a company. And then we were like, excuse me? And then we went and started our own. And we're going to be in Playa Vista. It's very saturated here. And so we're kind of serving the community colleges and also LMU, kind of where Google and Yahoo and YouTube are. And so it's kind of like the next Silicon Beach. And we're trying to cater so that the students have an opportunity and kind of bridge the gap between the old and the new. We should all be friends.
Quickly add to that.
Oh.
It's also about the community that we're building. We have a nonprofit. We organize hackathons. We've been doing it at the collegiate level for a while. And we saw that no one was doing it for high schoolers, so we started doing that. But we have a good foothold in the hackathon hacker movement. For those of you who don't know what a hackathon is, it's like Iron Chef for programmers, designers, developers, app, website makers, even hardware people with drones and Oculus 3D stuff. I want to talk to you. Yeah, it's the people.
So you want to hear about that more, talk to them. All right, now we've talked about story. Let's just branch into tactics. So we have various startups with, or people or companies with a story to tell. What are some tactics to actually build your brand online? What can you do? What do you recommend as the first, like maybe 2 or 3 steps once you've figured out your brand and your story? Okay.
There's a book called The 7-Day Startup that I recommend everyone read. Ultimately, there's the lean marketing or the lean startup principles. There's all these different principles. So far, the 7-Day Startup has been one of my favorites because it's all about getting it tested as fast as possible. Don't spend too much time on your idea. Just go out and try it and see if it sells, make money with it, and then grow it. You'd be amazed at, if you want to build a software platform, just offer it as a service instead of going through a $100,000 development process. Do the work on your end over the phone or through screen share and put it out there. But
right,
see
so
if
test
people
it
will
first,
spend
just
money.
get it out there. Whether it's a startup, do it lean.
Yeah.
What if it's a film idea
And
or
see
a
if people
content
will
idea?
spend money on it.
What if it's a film or creative content?
Show it visually. Number one rule in Hollywood is people don't like to read. It's the same thing in the startup world.
So show a trailer or something, or show a couple clips.
Graphic novels, storyboards, visualize it and don't look like shit. I say it all the time. Make sure that if you're making a movie, your poster looks like it's something that could be a poster at a movie theater. If it doesn't look like it can be a poster at a movie theater, then chances are it can't make much money. So make sure it doesn't look like shit.
Okay, so test it and make sure your stuff looks good. All right.
Make allies, right? Especially if you're doing any kind of creative endeavor, you don't have to do it alone, especially if you're going after funding. If you have, you were talking about like it's about the people, because ultimately any endeavor is about the community you're building around it. That's what's going to make it possible. So as soon as possible, start building that community. Find out who the key influences are among the people you know, and sort of give them ownership over being a part of whatever the project is.
How
and
do you do
helping
that?
Make it a reality.
You tweet people with a lot of followers and say, hey, support my project. Can you retweet this?
No.
What do you do?
You reach out to them, you tell them the story, and first thing is you listen. What are they interested in? How is what you're doing connected to what they want to do? So you want them, ultimately, you don't want to ask them for anything, you want them to invite themselves to be a part of, like, wow, that sounds cool, how can I get involved? Oh, great, you can tweet, you can do this. Instead of, if you reach out first on Twitter, it might not go so well.
To precede that and then to go into tactics, first off, philosophically speaking, with Justin is fail, and fail fast. You know, try it, prototype it, and don't throw in 100K. You know, you throw in 1K, and you try it out, and you fail fast. And especially in this town and in Hollywood, we have this tremendous culture of from the makers of the last successful thing and the other successful thing. You don't hear about those failures and all the failures that led up to this person's path as a creative. So fail, and don't be afraid of failing. I mean, fail is first attempt in learning. And then for Michael, it's build your wise counsel. You know, and now the tactics behind that is, you know, you're not going to be, I got this right idea, blah, 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 and that person's falling asleep and they're doing this. Refine your pitch and make it that your pitch is a niche pitch. It is super targeted. It's not talking about all the other, there's Amplify, there's this place, there's that place. It's like, this is for that particular student, that particular person. That's the one person that you're speaking to. Speak to that one person.
So perfect your pitch. You're talking about the 30-second pitch, or the 5-minute pitch, or the 1-hour pitch?
Maybe it's the 5-word pitch.
Okay.
For me, it's all about the community. Like, go out there and like, for my breakdancing brand, I go to b-boy events. For my LA Street Art Gallery brand, I go out to art shows. Tech brand, I'm going to a bunch of meetups about 3D printers. I go to 3D printing conferences, to expos. I talk to the people. I talk to manufacturers. I talk to vendors. What's selling? What's popular? What's new? And you know, you got to really know the people that you're selling to. And being behind a computer and doing hashtags and Instagram and Tumblr, all these social media, it's great. You can stack your hashtag and just try to build it as much as possible, SEO, all of that, whatever. I did Google AdWords and Facebook, you know, ads for my tech brand. It was awesome traffic to my website, but I didn't get that many sales until I interacted with my customers. And so if I'm on Instagram and I get a comment, I'm gonna really comment back to that Instagram person. I'm gonna really be in touch with my audience, and I'm gonna go to a 3D printing conference, and I'm gonna talk to people. It's all about the face-to-face, because people wanna know and relate to the person behind the brand, or else you're just some kind of, you know, robot behind a computer. You know, people wanna know who you are. So that's what I kind of suggest to, like, for tactics, like, know your audience, like face-to-face, know your audience.
Okay. There's a lot of ways to communicate your brand using digital tools. There are online videos you could have on your site. There's social media. There's what the site looks like. There's an app. How do you figure out what to do? And how do you communicate your brand through these various tools?
You know, it's funny, like, figure out what your brand is good at. For me, for street art, it was photos, because it's just street art. So I post a photo every single day. And same thing with 3D printing. For me, it's 3D printer objects. And so I figured out all the hashtags that are really popular. You just go on Instagram, you figure out your hashtags, figure out who has the most, what has the most followers on it and most hits. And then from there, know those hashtags and create your own hashtag and just build it. And then from there, you know, there's 2 tools that I've used right now that are really cool. It's Instagress, where it automates likes. So you can just know your hashtags that are really popular, link it to your account, and your account will automatically like every single hashtag that you put in. And on top of that, you do later Instagress, Instagress. And you also use Latergram. Latergram lets you pre-post Instagram, and it's free 30 posts for 1 post per day for free, or you pay for like multiple posts a day. And so what you do is you can just schedule out a bunch of Instagram photos, know all your hashtags, know all your text, throw it on for a month, run Instagress, and just sit back and relax. It's more like that. You should look at your comments. Look at your comments, talk to your people, because sometimes you'll miss out. I've made sales on Instagram, so Instagram is pretty big right now for me.
All right, so Justin, you do a lot of Kickstarter campaigns with huge folks and your consulting and stuff with FilmBrick, right? So can you talk about how through a crowdfunding or crowdsourcing campaign, a crowdfunding campaign, how that also communicates your brand and what should go in the video, and how do you get people to pledge?
One of the big mistakes two of the big mistakes I see people do with crowdfunding is, one, they want to get it out there, they want to hit a deadline, they want to be ready for a certain event, and so they try and fight to get it out there, they post it, and then nothing happens. It's not as simple as you build it and they will come. So you have to be able to market and drive traffic to your campaign. And the other thing is providing value. So assuming you can get 1 million users to your site, big deal, unless they buy something. So you have to give something of value. And
Example, please.
What's that?
Example?
Example, instead of a DVD, just buy it, or instead of a digital download, give the DVD, give a stretch goal for an extra copy. Make sure that it comes with the inside booklet and it's badass. Offer packages that include all kinds of cool stuff, including the branded gift box. You have to create so much more content, but you have to create content and things and products that your audience wants. If you have a sci-fi movie coming out and you're not going goo goo gaga over these things that you're selling, then it's not good enough. You have to know that your community is going to want to buy your shit.
You create about the web series, or how do you tell the story or build the brand for a web series?
One of the things I talk to people about is, who is your demographic? Depending upon what target audience you're reaching, I would lead with a different social media. So if your web series is about 40-year-old middle-aged women, or 40, I don't know what middle age is these days, but something around there, 40 plus, you probably want to start, your lead should be Facebook. But if my web series is about, high school teenagers, I would lead with Instagram. So you have to really target, be clear, kind of have a understanding of the social media platforms and what's happening on them. To offer value, I would there's this great article I just read on medium.com called A Teenager's View of Social Media. It's written by this 19-year-old out of University of Texas, Austin. How many people here have read that in here? Okay, great. So it's a really great article. And it kind of blew my mind, because I think he was super on point about how the 17 to 21-year-old demographic is using social and where it's all headed. And so it's a really great idea to get, if you have no idea who's on what platform, to read that article for yourself. So you definitely, when you're launching digital video, you want to know who your target audience is in terms of gender and age demo, because that will determine what social you should really play with.
So there's a lot of things you got to do. One is make a video, it sounds like, if you have it, to promote your stuff.
Absolutely.
Or your social media. Oftentimes content creators or startup people are so busy just building the business or editing or cutting the film, who is actually going to be the person to actually do all this? Do you do it yourself and figure it out? Or do you hire a firm? Do you ask your friend? Do you get an intern? What's the best strategy for actually getting this done?
I think, I think it depends upon, you have to be clear for yourself. There's a lot of entertainment folks in here. Do you want to make digital video your home? To give context real briefly, we thought film was going to replace radio, and TV was going to replace film, and cable was going to replace TV. It's that hasn't happened. They're all still out there. They're still viable. YouTube isn't replacing anything. So it's its own sandbox. So if you want to be a digital content creator and make your living here and really play in the space, and this is the biggest mistake I think people make, they think, I'm going to make a TV show and put it online. YouTube is not TV Lite. It's its own thing. It has its own set of rules, it has its own culture, has its own, there's a
Right,
a
but
mouse
who's
pad
going to
there.
help you actually do all this stuff? I mean, you have to create a video and do social media.
Yes.
Who is going to do that? Is it going to be
So-
the content
so-
creator or the startup person?
Yeah,
Or is
exactly.
it going to, are you going to hire someone?
So-
What do you do? Who's going to do it?
Thank you. So if you want to, if your transmedia, the big idea of transmedia is out there, is your YouTube presence or your digital video presence a part of a bigger package, or is it just the only thing you're doing? This is a great, actually, you'll love this. Will Keenan, who's the executive
Give
from
me an
Endemol-
answer, Brian. Who is going to do it?
Well,
Should the content creator? Let's have someone else. Who else wants to chime in?
I'll chime in.
well,
and then-
I think it depends upon your objective. And the quote I heard is, if you're spending more time editing than you are actually uploading, you're spending your time in the wrong space. So if you don't have the wherewithal and you're doing it yourself and you want to be in digital, I think you should try to do it yourself first, spend your time there, but not as much time editing as you are
Right,
uploading.
So you're recommending try it yourself, so you get the tools because you can put the stuff out there.
should
But
ask-
if it's
yeah.
taking more time doing the editing, the social, and actually your core craft or getting your stuff, getting your site up or getting your sales up or getting your app out the Apple Store, then have someone else do it. Who else wants to provide input on that? We have a broad range of folks on the panel. I'm sure we'll get 5 different responses to this if we ask everybody. So what do you think?
Or 6 or 7. So how many people are involved actively in creating video right now, video online? Okay. And how many people, the majority of your content is photo or text, blog, written content? Okay. So we know that you got 1 frame, Instagram, 24 frames per second for video. What's the value of your time? It's relatively easy to have that intern to manage your Instagram account. You as the principal, you as the lead on video, you know that that's an enormous endeavor. So what's the value of your time? You're going to be doing it DIY. That's taking you away from your revenue. Like Daniel had said earlier, like I want to make money. Your revenue is your engine to drive your business. So focus on your revenue. If you need to consult, you find a firm like myself, you find one of these gentlemen, and we can tell you, okay, this is what it's going to cost for your video. Maybe you can start doing 6-second vines, and all you have to do is set up your tablet on a tripod, and you're there in the room, and you have a nice little light, and you just start small, and you fail fast. And you can do that if you're the CEO. You can do that if you're leading on that effort. But if you have your team and you need to focus on your revenue, then consult and see what you need to do, and maybe you need to hire somebody else, but keep your options open.
All right, so I want to keep this focused on brand. So how can you actually make sure that your brand is communicated through everything that you do, whether it's your video, other original content, your social media? How do you, we've got to connect this to the brand, which we started with. So
Yeah,
how
I
do you
mean,
make sure you
if
do
you
that?
take the idea of like when you're doing a TV show, you create a Bible for it, and then from there on out, every episode, everything that happens has to adhere to the rules in the Bible. Same thing with a brand, same thing with anything that you're building. That's why doing the story up front is so important, because that establishes the rules, meaning that you can bring in people then to do the social media and to do all these things, and you'll know that it'll be on point because you've put in the time up front to really figure out who you are, what you're doing, who you're doing it for, and why. And so everything you do, whether it's the content you're creating, marketing, social media, has to tell the same story. And as long as everybody you have working on the project is on board with that, understands the story, and buys into it, feels like they're part of it, then it'll work.
So make sure your story is consistent across your multiple channels. If you have multiple people involved, make sure everyone understands what kind of the rules of the brand are, so it's consistent. Okay.
Yeah, it's basically your mantra, your mission statement. If it's like a business plan or whatnot, it's really like, what is like your business in one line, or your elevator pitch, and that's your brand. And you got to let your partners know, or your employees know, your interns or yourself know, that's your mission. Try not to stray away. If you have to be flexible because the market's changing, change it a little bit, but keep hold of like your actual mission. Of like, are you here to help people? Are you here to just make money? Are you here to help yourself? Figure out what your mission's about. For me, one of my brands is called Creative Juices. It's about helping people empower themselves through health. And so I know that a lot of my content is going to be about health and about empowering people. I'm not going to shoot something about pop culture. You know, if someone's going to give me money about that, we'll see if I can somehow put in, you know, my own brand inside of that money-making opportunity. But then that just makes, you have to figure out what you're tolerant, what's your tolerance about, you know, how much you're going to give up when it comes down to money. If someone's going to offer you like a sponsorship for your website, your brand, your YouTube channel, you got to figure out if that sponsor is actually, you know, aligns with your brand. Because I deal with that a lot with a lot of my brands, because people do want to sponsor my videos. I have a breakdancing video, and if someone like, I don't know, Oreo Cookies comes to me and says, hey, I want to put Oreo cookies on there, I'll, you know, compromise. I'll make a dance video about Oreo cookies, but I'm not going to make it so cheesy. I'll make it with my voice and my own brand. And so it's just how much are you willing to, sorry to say this, whore yourself out for money, or keep, you know, keep your brand and your mission statement intact.
I just want to take a quick step back. If this sounds like a lot of work, what's the value of creating your own original content for your brand? What's the underlying power and value of that? That's a question that a lot of people, I think, might have.
I think just content's great for SEO. It's just content's out there for people to see when they're searching for you and your brand and your keywords. You know, YouTube is great for SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. That's what people type in a word inside Google, and that's when certain sites come up. So content's great, written content. I mean, a really good way to kind of like lift your SEO. Like right now, my street art brand is the #1 street art website out there. If you Google street art, it's LA Street Art Gallery. The way we did that was aggregated content, and that's when you take, you know, other articles from other websites, you link back, and then that builds your blog. And then from there, also work on your tags, and your tags, you know, really help you kind of like, you know, kind of like rise in SEO rankings. So for me, the value of content is getting people to notice your brand through SEO, through the website, and also it's your resume. You know, if you're just an Instagram, you know, account, you don't have a website or a Tumblr or a Facebook or a Pinterest or whatnot, you're only going to apply to the Instagram audience. So content on other platforms means that you're going to reach other platforms.
If you Google PR web series, I'm probably one of the first people to come up. At least I hope I am on the homepage there. I've written articles for IndieWire. I was featured on the TV Academy recently. So you have to offer value. You know, so I do writing on other people's sites. So you cross-link for SEO, like you're saying. And so you have to give value, I think, more than anything. Like, in getting back to Daniel's question, it's like, if you just want to make money, you're not going to be successful. Like, what do you really want for the world? Like, why are you doing this service? What do you want people to have? And then keep focusing on that. So they always say in business, be first or be the best. And in this day and age, I think you have to be first and the best, because it's so competitive. And so, like, I have a niche in PR, like hashtag PR, hashtag web series. Like, that's my niche. That's like, if you Google that you'll find me. But I'm going very micro, not macro, and that's served me.
All right, so let's say you want to create some original content around your startup or around your web series. Like, it's a 2-minute sizzle reel. It's a 2-minute piece that you put on your Kickstarter page to say why you. What goes in that content, and how do you make sure that your brand represents and shines through in that? Wants to take that?
Sure. I think you need to know why you're writing or putting up whatever you're putting up. So if you're putting up a YouTube video or a YouTube channel, why? If you're putting up a Kickstarter campaign, what are you trying to achieve? At the end of the day, when you create content, it's for discoverability and to prove your expertise. You want people to be able to type in a search term and find you first on YouTube. When people type in crowdfunding, sometimes Justin comes up. And then I get that phone call because I show a certain amount of expertise. So discoverability and expertise.
I also said to my clients, they go, do you do crowdfunding? I'm like, no, but I got a guy who does. Call him.
All right, let's go to the audience and give it some examples. Who has a startup they want to do this? Okay, you stand up, give us a 30-second pitch for what your startup is, and then let's say we want to make some videos to promote your startup. We'll ask, have these guys consult and give you some ideas, all right? So I have to say your name and 30-second pitch for what your startup is.
Before the timer, can we do a B2B question?
No, we want to make sure that we actually do that afterwards.
Okay. My name is Stacey Waite, and the company is Positive Return. We do professional training of key business skills, So people are quicker, faster at their job, and they reach success quicker.
Do you have a video now for us?
No, the question is, we are B2B. Okay, so LinkedIn is key, but that's mostly white papers. What differentiates us is I use military vets and family members of active duty as our trainers. So I'm employing them gainfully. I want to get them out there. How do I do it in a B2B context?
All right, so we've been talking a lot about B2C and consumer-facing stuff. If you have a B2B, should you still make a video, and what should be in it?
Real quick, don't underestimate the power of the phone. Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and all this crap isn't for everybody. At the end of the day, this stuff's only been around for, 4 or 5 years on a really high level. So why not go the old-fashioned route? Make phone calls, build relationships. Yeah. Okay. The other thing is show that you're an expert and provide enough content for your customers to cycle through and gain interest.
I mean, for the online thing, like where do the businesses that you want to work with, where do they hang out? Like that, unless you know, right, you won't know what kind of content is going to resonate with them. I mean, there's so many great stories to what you're doing. I'm the story dude, so I got to say that. But like the military thing is great. So what businesses are going to be interested in that? What stories can you tell about the people you're working with so that they understand the value that you bring?
Is there another person who has a startup or a film or a Kickstarter campaign that's struggling with what should be in their video? Anybody else? Or wants to make original content that relates to their product? Okay, can you stand up and describe like what your project is, and then what kind of questions you have about video?
Sure. Hi, my name is Matt Marr. I'm starting a camp with some other people, a nonprofit, an LGBT camp, leadership camp, and basically our camp's based on Marshall Gantz's public narrative about using. So the whole point.
Video describing what the camp is, what you learned from it.
I'm getting there, sugar. So yeah, I know, but yeah, that's the whole point. Is we're starting our camp this year, so we're trying to create video content to draw, but we haven't had a camp yet, so we are a little stuck of. What do we do?
That's a great example. Okay, so he has a camp idea. There's no video footage of any camp to show. Yeah, what is he going to show in a video to get people to be excited to sign up for the camp?
I mean, you Marshall Gantz, right? So self-us and now, you know that framework? Great. So it's that. Like, you just be really transparent. This is the first year. We're super excited. Here's why we're doing it. Here's what we can all accomplish together. It's happening now.
What do you show in the video, though?
Do you have kids who are going to come to the camp? Or?
We just started application
Show the
2 weeks
kids.
ago.
Yeah.
People by people. Do you have your staff? Do you have staff of people who are going to work
Well,
the
right
camp?
now I have like 4 or 5. We're all volunteers.
Oh, that's
yeah.
perfect. So you get those people on camera. Like authenticity. Okay. Why are they doing what they're doing?
Sharing
Why are
the
they there?
story,
Exactly.
connecting the
Connect to
story
them.
to
Because
make
it's
the
about
shared
building
story.
trust. You have to build your trust first.
Yeah.
Do you have the space?
Yes.
Okay, so you can go and do a little 30-second with your camera and take, this is where we're going to be. Like, isn't it amazing? This is the quality of the environment you're going to get. You know, I mean, that's all you need. So just taking a video of you out in front of a space, yeah, I mean, it's all you need to do.
So again, Brian, thinking it back to story, what you talked about earlier, why are you 5 guys so interested in doing this? What's the story and how can you make it happen? And everyone will be like, oh, I want to help them. I know those guys. Yeah.
Just real quick. I mean, you can hear me, right? Yeah. Great. Oh, great. All right. So, you know, the other thing that you can always do when the thing hasn't happened yet is appeal to people's imagination, right? You show them an empty space and say, imagine this filled with this activity. Let them fill it in. If you don't have the thing to show, you don't have to fake it.
All right, do we want to do another consulting, or do you want to do open questions, guys? I guess you're already kind of standing up. All right, question in the back.
Hi, my name is Marie. You guys have talked a lot about understanding the why of your brand. So to get a little bit more to the actual content part, so let's assume you have, you know, your brand has integrity, you understand your why. What type of questions do you ask yourself when you're making content choices on, you know, I mean, we can all get into specific instances, but what are kind of the key questions that you ask? Do I go video? Do I go Vine? Do I go this? And then next question, like, just some of those top-level questions that are more strategic.
Where's your community?
Great question. There's a lot of different kinds of video. You can make a 5-minute YouTube video. You could make a 15-second Instagram. You can make a 6-second Vine.
So I always tell people there's like 15 different social media platforms you could potentially be on that could help your brand, right? So I always realistically tell people, how many of them can you realistically play full out in? Better to be on 3 full out than like 7 kind of half-ass, okay? So you don't have to be everywhere, but wherever you're gonna be, you gotta be there 110%. And then I would pick, so pick your 3 or 4 that you can realistically allot time to, or get an intern to help you in to like manage, or whatever you need to do, and then go full out at that and create a strategy for each one. You also can create different types of content for each platform. So I also encourage people, Instagram is all about behind the scenes photos. YouTube is all about, videos from the CEO. Whatever it may be. Twitter is all about, all of our giveaways and our contests. So each platform can have its own authentic voice and purpose inside of, your overall story and context for the brand.
Okay, so now we're doing open questions. You could ask questions about anything about brand and content. And if you want to do a quick consult, we're having them give advice or feedback to your own particular project, like we did with the LGBT camp. Go ahead and do that too. All right, do you want to go? Can you stand up?
So you guys have been talking a lot about social. What about SEO? I know you mentioned that. Wouldn't you agree that SEO should not be a question? I know you're saying where your community is at, but everybody's on Google. Everybody needs to be on Google. Would you agree with that? Any quick strategy advice?
No, I do too. I mean, I believe in search words and key terms because, people search, Google's number 1 and YouTube's 2. So that's why video is so important. So you really need, I believe in video content a lot. Back to the people about what you should do for your videos. One of my clients is San Antonio Winery. What they have is a founder's video and then testimonials and then how-tos. What's great about that is that you teach people about, what you can do. You tell people about your story and your mission, and then you have testimonies about people who have used your service or have met you before. Because that way people relate to you, you have content. Testimonials, you can put an iPhone in front of you and just do a selfie, and talk to your iPhone. Same thing with a founder's video. I just did a founder's video for AngelList.com, all that stuff, and the founder's video is great for you because, it just allows people to know who you are. But when it comes down to SEO and everything, it's really important because people do use Google. I'm trying to build my tech brand with Google AdWords and Facebook and hashtags, and it takes a while. The way that for me has always been the hashtags, tag words, and keywords. You really have to know what those are and try to find one that's really specific that you want to just own. Own a hashtag that's yours, and then also use another hashtag that's popular. And for me, I do believe in Google. It's AdWords right now is so specific, and when you get into AdWords and analytics, you can really see the metrics of people searching your keyword and also your website. It's very, very useful, especially when it comes down to building content. Because all content now, it's going to be searching what you put in your text, from your hashtags, your tags, even the text itself. So I believe in Google. Try your best for SEO. If you don't really understand it, at the end of the day, it's just about updating every single day. You just got to update every single day.
If you haven't read Crush It by Gary Vaynerchuk, I would buy that book. He took his parents' wine business from 3 million to 60 million over 3 years, simply by buying a flip cam when that was big from Costco. And he just did his own show called Wine Library TV. There's also, if you want, I have an SEO link I can give you about, if you want to find me afterwards, that I use, and actually an MD who's now doing network marketing gave to me to help me with my SEO. So I'd be happy to pass that along.
All right, more questions? Let's go. I haven't done this side in a while. Okay, can you stand up?
So my question is, I've heard you all talk about use the time and the resource that you have wisely and get an intern. And my question is really about what is the capacity and the competency for an intern to take my Bible and actually live in that religion, especially if they're going to be there for 4 months. I come from working in higher ed and working with nonprofits in particular, and many of them in startup mode. And so there's so much that I have to invest in teaching somebody how to do the thing that I need them to do. If I need to focus more on revenue, how do I do that with interns effectively?
I just recently got an intern, so I can speak to this. You need to offer value to them. I think you should only give them 2 or 3 things to be in charge of. Don't try to have them learn your whole business. Just get them master 1 or 2 things. You also want to obviously a Craigslist ad could work, but I would also get yourself registered as a business at higher education around town. UCLA, USC, FITM, whatever your brand, whatever your thing is.
Well, but more specifically, are these students going to know how to actually, like, they use social media, but do they understand social media in a way that they can actually deliver a strategy for those?
No. Actually, that's a great question. You have to be clear in communicating. Using social media personally is very different than using it for a business. So it's up to you to educate them in the first week about these are the hashtags, this is what you can talk about, this is what you can't talk about, these are the types of photos I want you to post. I want our videos to be, you know what I mean? If that's what it is, and you need to lay that out for them and give them the guidelines. That's got to come from you.
Listen to them. They'll tell you what they're good at and maximize their strengths and don't focus on their weaknesses. If they're not great social media people, if they're not saying I'm a social media guru, then don't put them on social media. Find the people that are great at it, and that's what they want to do, and all they need is expertise, or not expertise, experience, which is what you can offer. If you're
Creating some online content like a video, who do you get to actually write the script? Do you hire a writer? Do you do it yourself because you know your story? Do you work with someone? How do you actually get like the content of what you have to put out?
Are you a good writer? Like, if you're a good writer, write your own video. If you're a terrible writer, like, it goes to knowing what you're good at, and then filling in. Like, what if
You think you're a good writer?
Get a coach to tell you you're not good at it.
I use
Find out real quick.
I use rule of three. I use rule of three. I would show it to 3 different people and take the sum of that. You know, write it yourself. It has to come authentically from you, and then show it to 2 or 3 different people and get their input. Take what you like and leave the rest.
All right, and how about cinematography? Who's going to actually shoot it? Is it like you with your selfie because that fits with your brand? Or do you hire like something super fancy if you have a luxury brand because you want it to look awesome? What do you do?
Sure. I think it depends. That's a really important question, because if you're like a nonprofit, right, and you have a video, and I work with an organization that has this problem, their videos look like they cost $150,000. I mean, they look amazing, and everybody thinks they're flush with cash, and they are broke, and they get amazing college students to make those videos, right? And so really think about what you're trying to do, right? For some things, like you were saying, you've got to make it look good. It's got to look like a Hollywood production. For other things, a janky iPhone video is just about the right fit.
But it's a balance, you know. I had an opportunity to interview Maria Bamford, who's a pretty big comedian right now, and the video it was for an organization. They haven't released it yet. I interviewed her 4 months ago. It's still not on their website. I don't have it for my purposes. It's like, and that time is kind of relevant. Now maybe they could use it for their marketing for next year, but it didn't come out timely enough to like actually have an impact, or as big of an impact as it could, because they wanted it to be perfect. And like digital video is about authenticity, not production value. If you want production value, go to TV. This space, you know, authenticity and interactivity trump production value every time in this space. This is not TV light.
We have a question from the audience. Justin already asked a question. Someone else hasn't talked yet? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a brand question. Justin, you spoke about the sandbox, playing in the sandbox with the players. And Mitch, one thing you mentioned was, or Mitchell, sorry, was knowing your position, like the other party's position, and meeting in the middle. So my question is, when is it appropriate, if ever, for your brand to collaborate with a competitor to produce original online content for your niche?
It depends if you're willing to work with that guy to make your brand more noticeable, more popular. It's about tolerating stuff. It's like tolerance. I always tell people, so what can you tolerate? Because I worked with a competitor before for one of my breakdancing brands. And so it was like, look, we're competitors, we get it, but if we help each other out, then we're going to have more viewers for each person. And when it comes down to original content, you can either do it a couple ways. You can either make a video together. One person, you know, can make the video and then you tag the other person, or the other person makes it, you know, vice versa. Or you do like just, you know, sit in front of your camera and both of you saying, hey, look, this is person from Yak Films. I'm Mitchell from Strive TV. We like each other. You should subscribe to our channels. It's all about, you know, how much you're willing to sacrifice in order to make your brand more popular. You know, and I know that's just a personal question for yourself. And so if you want to make your brand popular and make some money, go and, you know, work with your competitors, but be friendly about it. Don't be shady about it, you know. Be really like authentic and be real about it, because if you have, bad intentions towards it, it's going to come back to you, because I've had some experiences with that before too.
I'm getting the signal that we have time for one more question, which I want to make sure that we focus on the original aspect of this, because that's in our title, building your brand with original content online. So when you have an idea to make some original content to promote your brand or your series, how do you make sure it's actually original, which is like creative, out of the box? How do you know that's like a new idea, or how do you get that new idea to make it actually original, not just we're doing a video because everyone else is doing a video? How do you, where did that original idea come from that makes it spark and that will probably get shared?
Touching back on what actually everybody has said is, seek wise counsel from within your organization. Put together that brain trust. Disney is very, very well known for having their story trust. Every film is through each one of those established directors, each one of those storytellers. You bring together your small group, get that powwow of 3, 4, 5 people. And definitely keep it small, because you need to stay focused. Everybody's going to be throwing all kinds of ideas out. Have a very clear understanding of how to give criticism and how to receive criticism. This is feedback, and you are going to take some of the good and you're going to leave the rest behind, and prototype that very quickly. Try it out, keep it lean, make the self video with the small camera, try that out, and then go back to that powwow. Okay, what did we learn? How could that be improved? It's you, the founder story, you, the counselor, you, the teacher, and try that out, and then take it to what Brian said is take it to several people that don't work in your field, and do they buy that? Do they believe in that? And distill that down. This may take you several rounds, but the final distillation, you're going to have this beautiful essence of what that story is, what that video is. So it's going to take time, but take the time to develop. Don't just throw it out there. Take the time and really distill it down to something beautiful.
Brainstorm it with folks who get it, who are part of the core Brain Trust team, and then test it. Anyone else want to add to that? Where do you get that original idea from?
And also just do research. I mean, if you're going to make a founders video or a Kickstarter video, look at the most recent Kickstarter videos. Don't just think, I'm going to come up with an amazing idea and it's an original. There's no real original ideas out there. It's about the execution. And if your execution, if you want to make it incredibly, amazing and different, you have to know what's out there right now. So do research.
People are like, oh, I have this great idea, and then someone in the industry is like, oh, that's already kind of out there.
Yeah, like for me, like I studied a whole bunch of the Golden Globes, like award winners, watching all those movies, going on Rotten Tomatoes, watching all those movies, going on YouTube, watching all the top channels. Do your research.
So how do you get that original idea?
I wouldn't worry so much about the original idea as much as solving people's problems or making their lives better. A great way to come up with an initial idea is learn the marketplace first. If you like wine, learn the wine marketplace first, and then learn what the problems are, and then find your solution. You don't want it to be original. You don't want it to come out of thin air. You want it to come out of what people need. And you can only get that by learning and researching and understanding the markets, and then create the innovation once you've identified everything.
So again, know your industry, know your competitors, know what's out there, so that you can actually, with your idea, have the extra leap that makes it awesome.
Yeah, the ideas will come to you once you know the market.
I've had a lot of people just come to me like, I have this great idea for a web series. It's about like it's about 2 actors trying to make it in Hollywood. I'm like, nobody's ever done it. I'm like, actually they have. But that happens to me all the time. Actually there was some filmmakers in Chicago that did it 3 years ago. It was called blah blah blah. So the research is key, and it's fine if you have the same concept, but again, what makes it unique? If we're going back to Spirit Hoods, I forgot your name back there, but if you're going to Justin's idea, your idea isn't necessarily like completely original, but what makes it original and unique is like you're targeting a younger demographic, you're going after high schoolers, and it's like has this hackathon thing going on, right? So like that makes it specific and unique, which will help differentiate you from your competition. So you just have to figure out the same thing for you, do that research. I just did, I worked with the Fisher Space Pen. How many people here have actually heard of the Fisher Space Pen? Do you know what I'm talking about? Raise your hand high, read up high. It's a little older demographic. So they're going through a whole rebrand. They're trying to bring in a new audience. So I researched other pen companies and what they're doing with social media, and I presented that in my portfolio to the founder, and he was fascinated by it. But you know, their competitors are using social media very differently, completely differently. So for him to know that pen company A versus pen company B is doing X and Y, now how do we do Z to differentiate ourselves?
Great. So just to wrap it up, know your story, tell your story, pick the social media platforms that have the right demographics. Make sure that you know your competitors and you do something original that's out of the box because you know what people want because you are part of their community, and then grow the community through everything that you do. Cool. So let's give our panelists a big round of applause for sharing with us today. It's super awesome, guys. So I think that our panelists will be around afterwards to answer any other questions you might have. Thank you guys so much for great questions. Thank you, panelists, for great advice. I'm going to kick it back over to Mike with Creator Up, who has some final words.
Thanks everybody for coming today. I just want to reiterate that we have live classes with these teachers where you can get one-on-one attention, Filmmaking 101, web series, crowdfunding, storytelling, and branded content starting in February. So please sign up, take some time to chat with them afterwards about your project, and we're really excited to help you build your brand online with content.
Thanks everyone for tweeting. Thank you, General Assembly, for hosting us, and thank you guys. See you at the next Creator Up event. Thank you.